Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Add a little aloha to your super pigskin party with Kalua Pig, Terry Chicken, and Island Cocktails. Woodstock, Burnside, Beaverton, or online at ate-oh-ate.com. First on The Fan, the NBA stealing the headlines this weekend. The Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. That's in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick on late on Saturday night. Then on Sunday, a three-team deal sending De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine, multiple first- and second-round picks to the Kings, and Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a first-round pick to the Bulls. The Blazers, meanwhile, winners of 7 of their last 8. They host the Suns tonight. 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna. Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle is still out. Robert Williams III, Jabari Walker are questionable. The Blazers are 5-point dogs. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reporting disgruntled Heat forward Jimmy Butler has told the Warriors he is not interested in signing an extension with Golden State. Butler has a $52 million option for next season, but it is believed he would rather become a free agent. And over in the NFL, reigning defensive player of the year, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett requesting a trade. Garrett has 2 years left on his record-breaking 5-year, $125 million deal signed in 2020, but there is no guaranteed money remaining. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This week, Danny and Dusty think everything's super.
Oh, it's huge. It was an absolute youth.
This is Danny and Dusty on Super Week.
Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at warrenallen.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080
Hunko burning crab. Big butts matter.
The Fan.
Good afternoon. Hey, welcome in. Happy Monday. Happy Super Week.
We're going to blow that out immediately.
Yeah.
What in the world is this?
I don't know what is happening. My goodness gracious almighty. What a weekend we had. The Super Bowl, the reigning national champion has lost both of its coordinators, including an offensive coordinator that was a head coach and in the NFL and college, and he's going back to the NFL to coach under Pete Carroll.
Let's say it's a one Pac-12 legend going to coach with another Pac-12 legend.
And that's like 8th on the list with Chip Kelly going back to the Raiders. The Super Bowl is like 5th or 6th. The NBA just said, yeah, we're going to act. No. Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka said, nah, we're about to get drunk here.
Oh, my God.
Let's get weird. What happened this weekend? What happened this weekend?
I am 40 years old. I am a grown man, and I still have not been able to wrap my arms around this firmly. This was a where were you when moment.
Yeah.
This is the biggest sports transaction in my life. This was more surprising than Jordan retiring for baseball.
The most stunning part of this is that when the trade went down, it was like in the waning moments of NBA's slate that was going on. Nobody knew. Nobody knew that Luka Doncic
not
was
soul.
Available. And they pulled the trigger. And to say the Dallas Mavericks got fleeced in this is the world's largest understatement.
We're going to do studies on this at some point in time, as we get further and further away from it. But as of right now, Nico Harrison is the guy who traded Luka Doncic. But he didn't trade him for some magic beans. Like, the return might be worse than magic beans. And Anthony Davis is a top 75 player of all time. Luka Doncic is heading towards being a top 15 player of all time. There's a staggering difference. One's 6 years younger.
Well, but where's Max Christie?
Oh God. I had a front office executive like, well, Max Christie's kind of a first round pick. And I shut that down immediately. I'm like, don't even come close to doing that. Like, no, we are not doing that with him. No. The idea now, there are some reports, and I've heard from some people that despite Nico Harrison saying that he only called the Lakers, that he did in fact call one other organization, that he did call the Bucks.
Oh.
And they were not interested.
In Luka Doncic?
Yeah.
All right. If you don't know what we're talking about, on Saturday, the Lakers acquired Luka Doncic, injured Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris.
Again.
And they sent away Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a single first-round pick in 2029.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Jazz were in it.
And they didn't know what the deal was until 30 minutes before the deal.
They acquired Jalen Hood.
Jalen Hood, Shafino, and 2 second-round picks to act as a facilitator. They
And
did not know.
sent $55,000 cash to each the Lakers and Mavs, which I was surprised. I thought they got rid of that.
No, it's still there. It's
Okay.
Up to $3 million.
Oh, so
You have a pot of $3 million each year.
55,000. What is that doing?
Probably covering the physicals. Something along those lines.
But they got involved in that too. So that is our 3-way deal. That really is a 2-way deal. But it doesn't make sense in the idea that, like, we say often, like, this is a surprise. The idea that could be hyperbole is thrown out the door when you hear Luka Doncic is furious that he is no longer a Dallas Maverick. His dad has now come out and told ESPN that he didn't deserve this and to be traded from the Mavericks to the Lakers. He wanted to be a guy that was in the city, a one-stop guy, just like Dirk Nowitzki, who he's looked up to and is seen as used as a mentor over his career. He wanted to be just that in Dallas. They go to a NBA Finals last year, and this happens 8 months later. Stunning. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's stunning to see that this is what has transpired and how quickly all this played out.
There's so many different ways, and we're going to slice each and every one of them because there's so many different things to talk about, from Nico Harrison's press conference to the transaction itself to how they landed on the deal that they did to why they didn't shop Luka. Like, Nico's press conference alone deserves probably 2 segments because it's absolutely insane.
Well,
he said.
3 questions, and then he's like, all right, Jason, you got this. It's like, whoa.
And those 3 questions that he took, the answers that he gave were unhinged. Like, it was just like, what is happening here? Like, how on earth did this become a thing? Like,
yep.
Sitting there in press row during Blazers Suns, that transaction breaks, and I damn near yelled out, "What the bleep?" And everyone kind of looked at me. I go, check your notifications. And everyone in the media section did. And we all kind of stood up and looked at each other like, huh? Like, it was a lot of puzzling and
Well, Devin Booker
squinting.
said it best, who was in Portland at the time, where he thought it was Luka Garza.
Yeah. Like, wait, what? Because he heard Luka. And it was
Yeah.
like, wait, what? But we all kind of looked at each other. We shrugged our shoulders. He got hacked. Especially when this is for real.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that literal thing happen with other newsbreakers before.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, no, this is for real, blah, blah, blah. Then I think it was either Holdall or Heiken. One of them said, Wojcicki's got it. Dan Wojcicki of
Yeah.
LA. And, like, everyone's soul left their body.
Yeah.
Like, jaws dropped, and we just looked at each other and we went, oh, my God, this is real. Because nobody's going to hack Dan.
No.
Like, that's not who you...
You don't go for Shams, then Dan.
Yeah, no. Like, no, look, if you did have it like those two hacked and ready to go, that'd be a great play. But then the ESPN notification comes up, and we all just kind of in unison was like, this is actually happening. And then it was just a lot. Like, nobody watched the game. I mean, nobody even in the building watched the game. Like, even the players were looking at, like, players were borrowing coaches' phones
That's crazy.
because they can't have a phone on the sideline. And they're just sitting there going, oh my God. Like, a fan, as free throws are happening, goes and flashes his phone up to Damian Lee and goes, Luka got traded to the Lakers, and you can read his lips where he goes, no bleeping way. He goes, Luka Doncic, and he looks over at Zach Zarba, the lead official, and goes, Luka got traded to the Lakers. And Zarba kind of shrugs his shoulders like, all right, free throws. Like, what do you want me to do, dog? But, I mean, like, you see it spread to the Blazers bench, and you see Jeremy Grant's eyes get even bigger. Matisse just looks like he stuck his finger in a light socket. D.A. is just shaking his head over and over and over. Like, the prevailing thing that came out of the locker room after that game was fear. Legitimate fear of, if he can be traded,
Anybody can.
anybody can be traded. And I think that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. Like, what this did is a reset to the NBA. It was insane.
Yep. I mean, it was stunning, to say the least. And from the lopsidedness of the trade to a legitimate star in his prime, awaiting a Supermax deal and a Supermax extension, which is also another thing that what usually happens is the guy signs the Supermax and then he gets dealt. That ain't gonna happen, and that's not happening here. This is so bizarre on so many fronts that, and then the fact that Luka's pissed about it, Luka's family's pissed about it, the fans in Dallas are pissed about it. And there's also a lot of Laker fans who are happy at the fact that they've got a 25-year-old Luka Doncic they're pairing with LeBron James, but going, is this going to be enough? Because they don't have a big.
No, I mean,
Maxi Kleber's hurt.
Meanwhile, the Mavs have all of the bigs.
All the bigs.
There's an interesting question right now, and I think this is a larger scope question for later, but I just want people to kind of think about this. How many players are in the NBA right now are fans more of a fan of the player over the team? Because this Mavs team is a team that has been about the Mavs. It's not just Dirk during that era. It was Kidd, it was Terry, like it was Marion, like it was, the era of teams has kind of fallen to the wayside to a certain extent. And I wonder how much of that was an issue for the Mavs here, about it becoming all about Luka, a guy who has been, and again, I am not excusing this. This is the stuff that has come out afterwards, both publicly and privately. Luka was 270 pounds, and you don't get that way by just eating fast food.
Well, there is with Luka Doncic, there were red flags. That sounds like a challenge. There were red flags there. And look, Brian Windhorst, this popped up after the trade thing happened. Mm-hmm. Remember after the Celtics sealed the deal this past year, and he said, the winners are popping champagne in one locker room, and Luka Doncic is not. And until Luka figures out how to be a pro and how to take care of himself and to approach a season, he will never be popping the champagne bottles. Like that clip resurfaced because that was immediately following the NBA Finals. And that's what Windhorst went to. Yeah. He was doing a stand-up in the arena doing that on SportsCenter. And I remember everybody's like, whoa. Well, Windhorst has since clarified. It's like, dude, that NBA Finals wasn't like a hey, I saw something and I'm just going to get upset. He said that was the third time that he has seen that in his career covering Luka Doncic. And it goes back to when he was in Slovenia, when he was coming up and playing in Eurobasket tournaments and stuff like that. Did it twice where he cost his team chances to win titles. And he said, no, what we saw at the finals was me going over the edge and saying, no, I don't. You fool me once, shame on you.
Because
fool me twice, shame on me.
Right? You care because the talent is otherworldly.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you care.
And now I think we're seeing that with the Dallas Mavericks. Like, Nico Harrison and company finally said, all right, we are with Brian Windhorst now. And to your point, are you a fan of Luka or are you a fan of the Mavericks?
Of which they might not have any fans either way right now.
If Anthony Davis comes out and he puts on a show where he's not having to play the five.
He got all the bigs now.
He's got all the bigs.
They only have one guard on the roster, but hey.
he can play along, and he and Kyrie Irving put on a show, and Klay Thompson can just sit in the corner and say ball, 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 and they knock down he knocks down a buttload of threes, which he isn't really doing because he's aging Klay Thompson. But if they come out and they start rattling off wins, do those Mavericks fans come right back?
I know a lot of Mavericks fans, and I know a lot of folks that cover that team.
Dude.
It is very much bleep that team right now.
Oh, absolutely.
They are
absolutely.
I would not be surprised if you saw like a damn near empty arena when they come home.
I wouldn't doubt that one bit. But I wonder how long that lasts if they win. Because people love a winner.
You're not wrong, especially in that town.
People love a winner.
But they are livid right now.
They should be, man.
I mean, it's one thing, like, we went through that here in a sense with Dame, but it was over 89 days. Theirs was in the middle of the night, basically. It just happened.
Yep.
There's no cycles of grief. It's immediately.
You got one first-round pick.
And 31, about to be 32-year-old Anthony Davis.
Who's always injured. In his prime was always injured. But on the flip side of that, we have been sitting here, and Portland fans know this. You have one of the best players in the NBA. And Damian Lillard wasn't to the level of Luka Doncic.
No.
But we had Damian Lillard here for a decade, and we saw a front office just sit on their hands, not really build a contender around him at all.
Whereas Mavericks
did.
They chose to.
And they went all in.
They took risks.
And they did it last year at the deadline even. And they acquired everything, whether it was Gafford PJ Washington. Yep. They got those guys, and they said, we're gearing up. And they fell short, and they read the room. Would you rather have a front office that is proactive or one that just sits there and sits on their hands, which is the other thing? You know? Like, I mean, there's two sides of this, too, where you could say we have seen these trades in professional sports across the landscape of all sports, right? Where we've said one team has gotten fleeced, and they absolutely 100% did. We've also seen it where initially we go, that team got fleeced, and they end up winning more than the other team does.
I don't know how the Mavs win out of this. The Mavs would have to win a title this year.
They ain't doing that.
And even if they did, I think a lot of Mavs fans would say it feels hollow.
I just look at it
because there's no identity, there's no relationship with this team.
I think they would change it really quickly. I think.
I don't think so.
I think,
talking to the folks that I've talked.
I know, but we're in the immediacy of it now, and like they're not going to win a title because here's the other issue is that if you're sending Luka off to LA because you feel like he isn't fully committed, you brought in Anthony Davis to play with Kyrie freaking Irving. That's the answer?
Which 10 years ago, man, that'd have been a hell of a team.
But, I mean, goodness gracious.
Former LeBron running mates.
Okay, but now you're essentially saying, all right, Kyrie, you've checked your crazy for a long time now. There's nobody to keep him in check. Nobody to keep him in check.
And he's got a contract that's coming up, and you don't think he has leverage now?
It's wild.
And Klay Thompson went to Dallas to play with Luka.
All right, let's start breaking it down then. This is baffling. It's confusing. We need to dive into all of the tentacles
because there's just so much.
And I think where we got to start, how this trade came to be, and why in the world did Nico Harrison say the things he did? Danny and Dusty on the Fan. All right, Luka Doncic is a Laker. I'm furious about this because the Lakers, Nico Harrison went to Tigard High School. I have questions on whether he can be an Oregonian anymore.
And worked at Nike for 20 years.
Yeah, but my questions are, are you an Oregonian anymore? I'm going to rip that right away.
He's the most infamous Oregonian now.
When you trade Anthony Davis and Max Christie in a single first-round pick, singular first-round pick for Luka Doncic and Maxi Kleber, what is going on here?
Well,
and it happens in the middle of the night. There was a report, and you said this in the opening segment, that he wasn't shopped around, but apparently Nico Harrison did reach out to one other team.
And it was the Milwaukee Bucks is what's been reported. So now ESPN is running another story where it was just the Lakers, just the Lakers, just the Lakers, just the Lakers. And I'm just like, okay.
And this goes back to those 20 years that he was at Nike.
Yeah, where he was, he worked directly with Kobe Bryant, and Rob Pelinka was Kobe Bryant's agent. And the reason Rob Pelinka has a job with the Lakers still is because he was Kobe Bryant's agent. Like, that is the thing, that Jeannie Buss still sees a little bit of Kobe Bryant in him. And no level of incompetence is able to overcome just how sweet that sweet geography of Los Angeles is. Because, yet again, for no reason other than geography, the Los Angeles Lakers have the most upside-down superstar trade in the history of the league.
I don't even think geography has anything to do with it.
Oh, I'm talking about that organization. Like the reason that organization is what it is because of where they are.
It is malpractice. I don't understand how you could honestly look at that trade and say,
this is good.
This is what, a 25-year-old, 5-time All-NBA in his prime, just went to the NBA Finals. This is a trade that makes sense for us, and we're getting value in return. I do not see it. I cannot believe that
in conference too. You sent for all of the what you didn't send him to OKC or Houston or San Antonio because they're in conference. I'm like, so are the Lakers.
The idea that this would happen because of a relationship that those two forged with Kobe Bryant, and the fact that Nico Harrison was instrumental in bringing Kobe back on at Nike, and everything that all communications that involved Kobe Bryant went through Nico Harrison, went through Rob Pelinka. They have a good working relationship. That does not in any way, shape, or form say, you get fleeced in a trade for an injured. Look, Anthony Davis is special still.
He's still he's
31, oft
player.
Injured, and has been the guy who just getting over the hump.
One
is
of the 5 best
issue.
defenders in the league. There's no doubt about that. But there's a chasm between him and Luka. And the crazy thing is, we've got audio from Bill Simmons and Kirk Goldsberry talking about the transactional nature of this, of where it started and where they ultimately ended.
Yeah, and there's a week-long process. One of my sources inside the Lakers was indicating that the deal was bigger. And I think you guys were literally joking about this last night, that there were 2 firsts and there was Dalton Connect, and the deal got whittled down because I think Rob Pelinka was able to convince the Dallas Mavericks that Luka is a lot of risk. Yeah. And you guys are right for trying to look at this way, because this guy, is drinking or is whatever, his weight problem, whatever it is.
Hookah.
So they were able to convince it. This was a weeks-long process. That's another thing that came out today. And Dallas
almost
started
3.5 weeks.
Dallas started it, dude. This fell in Rob Pelinka's lap, and then he was able to reduce the outward Lakers assets to such. Dude, Mikal Bridges commanded 5 first-round picks.
If you don't know who Kirk Goldsberry is, by the way, he was one of like the forefront guys on analytics.
Yes.
And he worked as a VP in analytics for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yes,
he is not just a basketball writer.
No.
He's a guy that I think
He's
worked for MIT and Sloan.
He's
the Sloan Conference and Harvard.
He has a PhD from MIT in geospatial
Sweet.
recognition, I think is what it is. I can never remember, but basically he's one of the best data viz and math guys in the league. Like he's one of the OGs in that space. And I'll tell you right now, that Spurs front office is loaded with people like that. That's what they do. They run a militant style organization. The people they bring in, the NDAs that they have to sign, it's absolutely insane. I've heard the same thing Kirk was talking about, kind of falling out of this, is that the worries that the Lakers presented, and I think these are some of the worries that the Mavericks legitimately have, and that, look, if you work in the league and you've been around long enough, you know that Luka's weight is an issue, but you also know that Luka does have a drinking problem. Like that's a thing, and that's out there now, so I don't have to worry about it coming back. But the whole Mike Finley grabbing a beer out of his hand thing was funny, but it was also, hey bud, yeah, you have a real problem, and everybody else knows. Let's not have you. It's one thing for you to be like, have a beer bottle in your hand. It's another thing for you to have like a red Solo cup pounding beers following the game. But the other thing I was told was that the Lakers spun this as they believe that Luka's Achilles is a ticking time bomb because he's had 4 calf strains on the same leg in the span of a calendar year. I don't care.
That does not mean you
call Houston and go get Amen Thompson, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith Jr., and 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, because this is where it feels like Nico Harrison was trying to quietly do this so his asset was not suppressed, right?
He could tear his Achilles and it would still be fine.
In doing this trade in the way that it was, you got way less than you ever could have gotten for Luka Doncic. I mean, if you were to go to any other team, now Milwaukee is an interesting one. If they did reach out to Milwaukee and Milwaukee rebuffed it, I'd be interested to see why that was, right? Why did Milwaukee say,
Probably
no?
The same reason why you don't trade Luka Doncic. You don't trade the face of your franchise.
And so they wanted Giannis?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But if it was Dame...
No, but they wanted...
I mean, if they would have said, yeah, we'll take Dame, but I mean, you already have Kyrie down there. But if it was straight up Luka for Giannis, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that right now.
Why wouldn't you?
Because
here's the thing.
Because of what you just said, like it's your franchise player.
If you're thinking about basketball wise, you're worried about Giannis leveraging a move out. Mm-hmm. That's been like the one thing that everybody God, I hate even getting this now. The Luka stuff, I've mentioned this before. The Utah Jazz being the third team, and this is so funny because why, Dusty? What have I told you a million times? What were the Utah Jazz loading up for?
I don't know.
Luka Doncic.
Oh, Luka.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Oh, I don't remember that.
This was what they were loading up for. That's what Danny Ainge was waiting for. The Denver Nuggets were hoping that they could find a way to pair those two together. There's a couple teams that basically were just like in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, yeah, that's. But OKC is also the team that is rumored to be waiting for Giannis. And they have all the assets in the world for when he asks out. And so when the trade happens, I originally thought, oh my God, Luka asked out.
Yeah.
Like that was the deal there. And I was like, what on earth is happening here? And they end up being the third team in this. It's like, but if you're looking at purely basketball reasons, why wouldn't you consider moving Luka for Giannis? If you do have a fear of them changing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think you have to genuinely consider it. And the idea that the Lakers had to we have to consider this. Shut up. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not even for a second. The fact that they played coy is insane. Beyond that, the fact that they were able to get this down from AD to first and Dalton Connect to Max Christie and not even their best first.
I cannot.
Is insane. It's insane.
I have some really good friends in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have no friend that is as good to me as Nico Harrison is to Rob Pelinka.
No.
I mean, I feel like I have some great friends in my life, and I love them dearly. This is mind-blowing.
There's still so much to parse out of this.
Including Nico Harrison's press conference where he had to face the music, kind of?
Yeah.
We'll get to that. This is Danny Dusty. Here's Rust with SportsCenter.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Good or bad weather, the golf course always the driest around. Download the Langdon Farms app today to get all the latest news and specials. First on the Fan, the NBA indeed stealing the headlines this weekend. The Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. That was late Saturday night. Then on Sunday, a three-team deal sending De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine and multiple first and second-round picks to the Kings, and Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a first-rounder to the Bulls. The Blazers, meanwhile, winners of 7 of their last 8. They host the Suns tonight, 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna, and that's Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle still out. Robert Williams III, Jabari Walker are questionable. The Blazers are 5-point underdogs. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reporting disgruntled Heat forward Jimmy Butler has told the Warriors he would not be interested in signing an extension with Golden State. Butler has a $52 million option for next season, but it's believed he would rather become a free agent. And in the NFL, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett has requested a trade. Garrett has 2 years left on his record-breaking 5-year, $125 million deal he signed in 2020, but there is no guaranteed money remaining. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just ask it to play 1080 The Fan.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture.
talking Luka Doncic heading out of Dallas and to the Los Angeles Lakers, because it had to be the Lakers, of course. A guy who's been all over this. Have you seen the Chandler Parsons, everybody's favorite basketball player here in Portland, Chandler Parsons?
Hey, gotta love him.
He's been all over this story, though. He was like saying that Luka was like crying and was distraught over this, and he had just bought a new home in Dallas, like $15
million home. Yeah, no, can confirm through multiple people in Dallas that Luka had no idea.
He had no clue.
No clue.
Like within the last couple of weeks, a brand new $15 million home.
And like as much as like you want to talk about this was a surprise, blah blah blah. There were 4 total people on the planet that knew this deal was going. It was Nico Harrison, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and the majority owner for the Mavericks. Those are the only 4 people in the world that were in on these discussions.
We don't buy LeBron had anything.
I know. And that's an interesting thing we can talk about later. Has Rich Paul been neutered?
Ooh.
Because his 2 biggest clients were kept in the dark, with one of them being shipped off in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Anthony Davis. Yep. By the way, Luka posted on his IG a screenshot of his call log. It shows 11 calls, 10 missed calls from Nico, and then 1 call accepted at 3:03 a.m. Excuse me, 3:06 a.m. from LeBron James. So it's just showing Luka doing this. It's showing, I knew he was calling me. Between 2:05 a.m. and 3:12 a.m., Nico Harrison tried to call Luka Doncic 10 times. He picked up the LeBron call. That's funny. No, I think I got on that. I think that was Centel, not Central.
Probably.
Damn it, I got on that. My bad.
It's believable.
It is believable. It is believable. I got. But, my bad.
Yeah,
hand up. We get sometimes.
Both Ramona Shelburne and
went back and I looked at
that's
that.
okay. It's okay. It happens. Ramona. That's why I have those accounts all blocked, so they
That would've
can't.
been
They
great.
can't even pop up for me. Like even though they're sometimes funny, I don't ever want to see them on my timeline.
It seems like it would be about right though.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Damn. Got. Hand up.
Ramona Shelburne and Tim McMahon both have that LeBron James was not made aware. He was out at dinner, and
Really?
both him and Rich Paul both found out separately. Danny Ainge, who was in the deal, didn't know what the deal was until 30 minutes before it went up. I had somebody who I talked to that was privy to this before it went out, and he goes, we just sat there and stared at each other for 20 minutes waiting for it to drop. And I was like, did Danny basically beg to get in on the deal?
No.
Well, no, he did, but it didn't matter. It was done.
Yeah, he didn't. No, he just wanted some assets. See, I like that about Danny Ainge.
Well, no, he wanted to get in on the deal because
I know, but
they negotiated all that he knew. Literally, all he knew, he was helping facilitate the Lakers getting below a certain line.
Yeah.
With the Jalen Hood-Schifino deal.
Yeah.
That's all. He was like, oh, they must be doing something like relatively big. Like, but he probably thought Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent for Clint Capella or something along those lines.
And because he's in it for a couple of seconds and some cash going.
Look, he's
out.
a crack addict. He's like, you got any more of them seconds?
See, that's what I like about Danny Ainge, for God's sakes, is that he was willing to just be a part of it, and now he didn't know he was going to be a part of history and a footnote in history. And Danny Ainge now, part of 2 of the biggest blockbuster trades in NBA history. Think about that. I mean, he didn't facilitate this one at all, really, with a couple of seconds. But Danny Ainge now a part of the Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade, and I don't know, sending everybody to Brooklyn and getting all of Brooklyn's picks. Paul Pierce and
that was pulling the plug on old guys.
I know, but that deal to this point was probably the biggest deal in NBA history. Think about that.
This is the Herschel Walker of the NBA.
But without this one is how. But they didn't get the assets though.
But it's
the assets have got to be part of it.
No, the Lakers, the Lakers just getting the best, just absolutely hoodwinking. I don't, for Nico Harrison, we were already up against it. Like for his press conference, what he said, for everything to come true out of this, you have to you had to have gone to like the top of the mountain and had the three women sharing one eyeball out of the Odyssey type stuff to see the future, because your roster doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Even if Anthony Davis is the guy, your roster makes no sense. You have one guy on your entire team who can dribble, pass, and shoot, and he's 32 years old.
Yeah, because they're looking at, well, you got Max Christie.
You have one player on your team who can dribble, pass, and shoot, and he's 32 years old.
Starting five is going to be Kyrie, Clay, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford. Coming off the bench, you will have Dwight Powell, Najee Marshall, Dante Exum, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Max Christie.
Because right now you've got, two centers and three power forwards. You're going to play PJ Washington at the 3, Klay Thompson at 2, and Kyrie at the 1.
Maybe they're not
for all
done
of
yet.
the defense that you have none on the perimeter.
I still can't. Can we revisit something here really
Yeah.
quick before we go? There was a lot of the Blazers got fleeced in the Dame trade.
They may have absolutely crushed the last star trade in the league.
I think this one is definitely getting fleeced. This is what getting fleeced
And
looks
we
like.
haven't even got to De'Aaron Fox yet.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
We need to get to Nico Harrison's audio, and
Mhm.
we'll do that because, boy, that was head scratching to say the least. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Hey, let me ask you something. Does your bathroom need a serious update? I found YHIC, your home improvement company. Let me tell you, they make transforming your bathroom easier than I ever imagined. You can transform your space up to
After trading away the team's star and Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Maxi Kleber, I'm spacing on that third piece that they got.
The Madison out?
Sending Luka Doncic,
Markieff Morris.
Morris, and Maxi Kleber to LA for Anthony Davis, Max Christie.
And the 2028 first. They didn't even get the best
29.
first. Or
29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2029 first. They didn't even get the 2031 one.
Yeah.
Which,
why is that one better than 29?
it's further out. You just gave him Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Like,
He'll only be 29 by the time
I
that
had
pick
a
conveys.
Knicks fan ask me the other day if I was the Blazers GM and the Lakers came and offered me the 2028 first for Tamani Kamara, would I do it? And I said absolutely not. And there's a reason why. It's the same thing I said about my Miami Heat. Their picks matter significantly less because stupid stuff like this just falls in their lap because of their geography.
Yeah. And just mind-numbingly dumb decision. Like I cannot.
But that's what I'm saying.
I can't believe it.
The luck
I
that
can't
they
believe the
have
Mavericks
is
did
just
this.
insane.
Well, here's what Nico Harrison had to say after it looked like Luka died in front of the Mavs arena.
Yeah, no, they held a protest they had a coffin out there. It looked like when a premier soccer league team wants to fire one of their managers. Like the only thing they didn't do was fly the plane over with the messaging, but give it some time.
I mean, it honestly looks like they have his jerseys, they have remembrances, they have F the Mavs signs. Like, I mean, it's a whole deal where it's like, did he die? No, he's alive. Just in LA. Here's what Nico Harrison had to say to the fans of the Mavericks.
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's something that we believe in as an organization. It's going to make us better. We believe that it sets us up to win not only now but also in the future. And when we win, I believe the frustration will go away.
Okay.
I get being tired of Luka Doncic. I do. And here's the thing. Over the next 72 hours, you were going to hear about a lot of things Luka Doncic related. They're going to empty the notebook, as it were, to CYA, which is what happens when you trade a guy like this.
Burn it down, baby.
Like, if you think that that's going to be amicable.
Well, I think I also believe that is why you're seeing Luka's dad be so harsh on the organization, why Luka's farewell message was so well curated.
Oh, missing the Mavs
to only the fans, North Texas, how much it means to him is because they're also in damage control on this too, because to a star player in that orbit, it is a slap in the face for your organization to trade you like this when you're not asking to be traded.
And that's the thing we were talking about with the whole idea of it, changing the paradigm, as it were, as it pertains to Rich Paul and Clutch.
All right. Now Nico Harrison on Anthony Davis, and does he fit with what they are trying to do?
Well, I think the long term is the time frame. I think he fits our time frame. If you pair him with Kyrie and the rest of the guys, he fits right along with our time frame to win now and win in the future. And the future to me is 3-4 years from now. The future 10 years from now, I don't know. I don't think they probably bury me and Jay Button, or we bury ourselves.
Yes.
Oh. It's reassuring.
AD is talented.
How does Luka not fit in 3 to 4 years? So it's not like you're waiting for him to develop.
Real quick, how old is Luka Doncic?
25.
3 to 4 years, he's 28 to 29. His literal prime.
He's been there for 7 years.
Anthony Davis is 31. In 3 to 4 years, he will be 35 and 36.
Now, I will,
because he'll be 32 very shortly. Just
you mentioned that this Mavs team doesn't really make sense.
Makes no sense.
But they kind of do. Do they make more sense than the Lakers do right now?
Oh God, yes. And the Lakers, they are in the market for a big, and they are in the market like.
And that's the thing is that Dallas could have had both of those first round picks, and the Lakers would have been screwed. And I would have been like, "Hey, way to go! If you take both of those first round picks, go ahead, trade Luka." Like. They would have had no ammo.
Well, what the Lakers would have done was strung out a year, and then some star would have been like, "Hey, make sure you have that salary spot, and I'll fill right in, and you'll have 2 stars, and then they'll find a way to fill out the rest of the
Right
roster."
now, this is the Lakers starting 5: Austin Reeves, Dalton Knecht, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, Jackson Hayes. Now, Luka will be obviously sliding in there
As soon as the calf heals.
is right. But you're sitting there and you're going, okay, where are their bigs? They don't have any. And that was the big thing heading into this. And then you trade away the guy who was playing the best. And look, if you get Markieff Morris, okay.
He can't play.
You get Maxi Kleber, injured. Like, you don't make sense either.
No, neither of these teams make sense. And everybody's like,
All
well,
right.
the Mavs can make a run, but it's like, do you want to?
All right. Well, did Luka not fit the Mavs? That seems like a good follow-up to the Anthony Davis fits what we're trying to do.
No, listen, one thing about me, I'm not going to talk bad about any players. Like that's not going to do, us or me any good. I just say there's levels to it. And there's people that fit the culture and there's people that come in and add to the culture. And those are two distinct things. And I believe the people that were coming in are adding to the culture.
Max Christie, big culture builder. Anthony Davis, who doesn't think of his leadership when you think of great leaders in basketball. Okay. I think that he said, I'm not going to say anything negative. That's about as bad of an endorsement you can give a guy's leadership.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything bad.
Luka that's what they were missing, and I think that's what they feel they'll never get over the top, because if you look at the meltdown that happened in the NBA Finals, you look at meltdowns that have happened with him emotionally during games, like they just are basically saying we don't feel he had what it takes between the ears to get us over the hump. So Anthony Davis is?
Yeah.
Or Kyrie, handing it over to Kyrie?
Oh, God. Well, that's it's worked out for everybody else. Let's certainly it'll work out for them.
Well, there's one thing that will always be the big indicator in a trade like this.
I don't do anything that's scary. I think everything that we do, we put a lot of work into it. We study it and we restudy it and we go back, and I understand the magnitude of it. So the easiest thing for me to do is do nothing, and everyone would praise me for doing nothing. But we really believe in it, and time will tell if I'm right.
You really put a lot of work into it. Again, what are the reports? How many teams were in discussions to get Luka Doncic?
1.
Okay. Doesn't seem like putting a whole lot of work into it.
That seems like the easy part.
Yeah.
Because if you were actually willing to do that, you would have called Oklahoma City. You would have called Houston. Like you're telling me you wouldn't rather have
all them picks,
Jalen Williams plus another young player plus 7 first-round picks?
Yeah.
Like Houston, and again, Amen Thompson, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith Jr., and 3 first-round picks. Like you're the number of teams you could have called to get something done here.
There is something that he said, and it directly correlates with Portland. He said it right there, and I think that's where we need to go next. He said the easy way would have been for me to do nothing. I mean, think about that. He's not wrong in saying that.
No.
The easy way would have him just stay the course and go.
Yeah, for a team that went to the finals last year.
But think of how it pertains to this team here and how frustrated we have gotten over the decade that we had with Damian Lillard of nothing being done. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
KFXX, KWJJ, HD2, Portland. An Odyssey Sports Station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, NBA stealing the headlines this weekend. The Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. That happened late Saturday night. Then on Sunday, a three-team deal sending De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine, 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks to the Kings, and then Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a first-round pick to the Bulls. The Blazers, meanwhile, winners of 7 of their last 8. They host the Suns tonight, 7 o'clock tip on K2, 2.2 on your antenna, Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle still out. Robert Williams III, Jabari Walker are questionable. The Blazers are 5-point underdogs. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reporting disgruntled Heat forward Jimmy Butler has told the Warriors he would not sign an extension in Golden State. Butler has a $52 million option for next season, but it's believed he would rather become a free agent. And reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett has requested a trade. Garrett has 2 years left on his record-breaking 5-year, $125 million deal signed in 2020, but there is no guaranteed money remaining. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Slam Dunk in Vegas is our nationwide contest for a chance to have the ultimate tournament viewing experience with 3 of your friends. More info at 1080thefan.com. We're getting you ready for pro football's ultimate matchup.
Give us a taste.
Mac has a noodle arm.
Ooh, buddy.
This is a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at WarrenAllen.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080.
I got hit in the head with the tortilla. Yikes!
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Monday afternoon. Boy, it is Super Bowl week, and we just spent an hour talking Luka Doncic getting traded. This is like, it really is a ground-shattering move in the NBA.
Yeah.
It is probably the biggest trade ever in the National Basketball Association.
Legitimately is, because you're talking about a 25-year-old in his prime that had not asked out, had given no inkling that he wasn't going to sign his extension. And for his troubles, and a reason why Luka Doncic is going to be super pissed, is he lost $120 million guaranteed by this transaction.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think the number is like officially around $117 million because if he can recoup some of it. He was eligible for the Supermax, and the Supermax would have had him at about $345 million. He's now only eligible for the veteran extension, which is $228 million. Oh, by the way, that would be $345 million in a tax-free state of Texas and $228 million in California, the highest jock tax in the country.
Yeah, not only that, one of the higher income tax brackets,
now,
too.
Do you think you see maybe Luka goes the way, and this was part of one of the reasons why the Mavericks said that they were unsure about him signing an extension, just bought a massive home in Dallas. It did not seem like that was the case. But do you see maybe the Lakers do what the Cavs did with Donovan Mitchell, which is say, all right, you can't get the Supermax, but the way that he's going to recoup that is he signed a short deal.
He signed the extension, then hit unrestricted free agency.
And then that is a roll of the dice, and that's a gamble.
But it's also the Lakers.
Yeah, also the Lakers.
Who's leaving the Lakers in their prime?
And so you could have a situation where he signs a 3-year deal worth $165 million, and then when he is 28 years old...
Think about that, though. 3-year deal for 165.
Yeah.
As opposed to 5 for 345.
Yeah. But then he could sign after that a 5-year, $418 million deal.
When this is all said and done, this is going to cost him anywhere between $80 and $100 million. Like, you're going to recoup some of it, but you would have also gotten that next deal on a higher level sooner.
Yeah.
Like, all right. It's going to cost him a lot of money. And honestly, I wonder if he'll ever forgive the Mavericks just for that.
Yeah, that would be a tough one.
Because
he definitely won't.
There has been
Harrison.
zero indication, zero, about him not signing that Superman. Now, he could have done what a lot of stars have done recently, including Dame, which is sign that contract, then ask out.
Deuces. Yeah. All right. I want to get to what Nico Harrison said, though. The easy way would have been for him not to do anything. And this is one move, and it sure is doing something. He was very active last year, got Daniel Gafford, got PJ Washington. They got to the NBA Finals last year. And what he is alluding to is that with the way that their team was built, he felt that right now Anthony Davis would be a guy that could get the Mavericks over the hump in the next 3 years to win an NBA title, more so than Luka Doncic. You've said of all of the concerns, look, is his Achilles a ticking time bomb with the calf strains that have limited and still have him out, actually right now even? Is it the fact that there's now rumors and leaks of him having a drinking problem and a partying problem? His weight is obviously an issue, and it has been. His preparation in the offseason and coming into camp admittingly out of shape every single year.
Like he had a wrist issue this year. They shut him down so they could get him in shape. That's 100% what that was about.
All of those things just became enough is enough.
Mm-hmm. And
now,
again, I don't care.
He's really talented.
Despite that, he still gave the Celtics that work.
But, I mean, did he really, though? That was...
Look, he did.
Okay. The NBA Finals... Do we remember what the NBA Finals were last year? Because they got their butts kicked.
And he did quit in the game. But he's also...
And he got ejected because he couldn't hold it together.
No, but don't... that's what I'm saying. The talent is still otherworldly. This is a guy that damn near averaged a triple-double and led the playoffs in points, rebounds, assists. Points, rebounds, assists, and I think steals.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Like
they got worked.
That's the talent you put up with that crap for.
Yeah. Well,
it is.
Do you think you're ever going to get over the hump, though? I mean, but that's the thing, is that maybe they're just looking at it and saying, no, it's not. It's not worth it because
I can tell you right now,
weren't
it's in the
able
city
to
of Dallas, it was worth it.
They got beat 4-1. 4-1, and they won game 4 of that, and then unceremoniously got dump trucked in the final game. It would be nice to say, but Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks, I love that Nico Harrison also said that the owner laughed at him initially because it's not Mark Cuban, by the way. We all aware of that?
Yes. The
does not own the
actual
Mavericks
governor
anymore.
right now is Patrick Dumont.
Patrick Dumont, and there's now a conspiracy theory that this is all to rip it all down, move the team to Vegas. That's not
because the
happen.
Adelsons are there. The Adelsons, you remember Sheldon Adelson, casino magnate. Yeah. That's who actually owns the team.
So that's not going to happen because there's going to be an expansion team to Vegas anyways. That I don't think the NBA. Adam Silver is not in the business of ripping teams away from cities anymore. But sitting back, and he said the easy way would be to do nothing. The hard way is to go out and make some of these decisions that are really tough. This one is pretty dumb. But at the same time, we were sitting here in Portland hoping that our front office would make a move and make a really hard decision that was a gamble in order to get Damian Lillard help. And they never did. I think there is an element of this that I'm sitting there, I'm going, if not being a Mavericks fan, I can appreciate what Nico Harrison is doing in saying, I don't believe in Luka Doncic anymore. And that's a bold claim to make.
Well, not only that,
but sitting there and doing it and saying, no, we're going to swing and we may whiff and we may get laughed at. They are getting laughed at, by the way, by me and everybody else because they did not get nearly the return that they should have.
Kirk Henderson is the editor at Mavs Moneyball. He's a friend of mine. He has a piece up on their website right now. I want to read this to give you the insight of somebody who has grown up in Dallas through and through, and has been through multiple iterations of this team and what they wrote. And I want just a little bit of this. When you ended that awkward press conference, again, this is a letter to Nico Harrison. You said that the future to me is 3 to 4 years from now. The future 10 years from now, they'll probably bury me and him. He's not much his kid by then. Or we'll bury yourselves. You're buried right now. Good luck digging out if this trade doesn't work immediately. The mask is off now with other players around the NBA as well. The organization sold you as a player-friendly general manager due to your time at Nike. The fan base was told that this would help Dallas when securing free agents and making trades. I think given the roster building to date, there's something to that, but that run might be over. The run might be over because keep in mind, Luka Doncic is not an Adidas guy. He's not a Under Armour guy. He is a Jordan brand athlete.
Yep.
And he packed him up and shipped him to LA out from under his nose. And now some people are like, oh, boo-hoo, they shipped him to LA. He just bought $15 million in a house. That's where he's like building up, right? And as much as, the idea of, oh, again, boo-hoo, he went to LA, this wasn't what he asked for.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't player friendly. I'm telling you right now, talking to players after that game, after the Blazers Suns game, players are terrified. Legitimately. They were like, if he can get traded, who's legitimately untouchable? And it's really only one. It's Wemby. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, technically it's 3 because Braun and Beal have no trade clauses.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
Bradley Beal being the guy.
Again,
one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe the greatest of all time, a guy who could be the greatest of all time, and Brad Beal.
Yikes.
But I wanted to read that just to give you some perspective, of where Mavs fans are right now.
They should be pissed. Are you kidding
me?
me?
It's not just pissed though. It's like
Hurt,
the idea. It's
upset,
hurt, and it's
done.
the idea that not just the damage of ripping what trading away Luka did, but what that may have done to you and the organization. All the goodwill that you built up, you might have just thrown down the drain. You may have made a transaction that you think was the right transaction to make, but at the time you made it, how you made it, and how little you got back.
How little you got back is the big one.
Yeah, but it's all of it because I'm telling you right now, I have talked to half a dozen GMs in the last 48 hours. Every single one of them. It's not a level of jealousy. It's why the hell did they do this right now? Why would you do this today?
Well, I have an idea. I have a thought on that, and I let's get to that because the timing may be perfect for the NBA. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. You know, you mentioned this about this trade of why now? And I think this might almost be the perfect time for a lopsided trade like the Luka Doncic, a star being moved in his prime more so than the lopsided one, than ever before in the NBA. Because what has always been the big, wide criticism of the NBA? Players have too much power, right? Players are the ones that can call their shots, and they get anything they want, whenever they want, and it is a player league, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said that Suns and Blazers players were scared after the game because if it can happen to Luka, it can happen to anybody out there.
I got text messages over the weekend from guys across the league like going, what the hell?
Wouldn't this be, though, like the NBA in a power shifting move of, hey, not that this was some sort of league mandate from Adam Silver, but being good for the league in that, hey, you guys aren't the ones that should be comfortable here, and the ones that you guys can call all the shots. Because I think from a fan perspective, that is something that alienates a lot of the casual fans of the NBA, is that it's a player-driven league and they get to call the shots, and, you know, what's the point? Now it's kind of like the league is taken back a little bit and saying, Thursday's our trade deadline, and by the way, it could be open season for everybody. And look, it did jumpstart a lot of moves in a time where you said this, that you've kind of, I don't want to say reporting on it because it's more of because you haven't like written a report out. But from the people that you've talked to around the league, the CBA was like, no, big moves aren't going to happen. We've seen 1, 2, 3 in a row.
And I mentioned on Friday that talking to folks going into the weekend that there is this idea that general managers want to be active, but nobody wants to pay any prices.
Well, now here's how you're doing it.
But, I mean, you look at these deals. Look, AD is a Hall of Famer, but he's galaxies away from Luka Doncic.
Yep.
Galaxies away from him as a player. Like they're a top 5 player versus a top 15 player is, you can't even begin to describe the chasm.
No doubt about it.
And then we haven't even talked about the De'Aaron Fox trade.
But that's the one I'm saying. It started everything else where the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox. You mentioned this yesterday or last week when he requested a trade. Not a really well-kept secret. He wants to go to the Spurs. That's where he ends up, along with Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings get Zach LaVine from Chicago, which they've been trying to unload him for
18 months.
Ever.
They were trying to trade him away with a first-round pick this summer.
The Kings got a 2025 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2031 first-round pick, and 3 second-round picks.
And the interesting thing is there, number one, that 2025 first-round pick is not a first-round pick. It is the Charlotte Hornets top 14 protected pick that will turn into a 2026 and 2028 second-round pick. The other first-round pick they got back was a 2027 San Antonio Spurs first, which, by the way, you just gave De'Aaron Fox to Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. Do you think they're going to be bad in 2 years?
No.
Okay, so that pick's damn near worthless.
Still better than what Dallas got.
Again, you're not wrong, but the one tangible asset they got here that had positive value is a 2031 Minnesota Timberwolves unprotected first-round pick. That is the one thing that they got out of this, because Zach LaVine they could not give away. The Chicago Bulls could not give him away. The Spurs gave away one thing of consequence: a 2031 Minnesota Timberwolves pick. They didn't give away Steph Castle. They didn't give away Devin Vassell. They didn't give away Jeremy Sohan. They didn't give away anything.
That's great.
They got
because guess what? Spurs, really well-run organization.
Yeah, well, and then you look at the Chicago Bulls. My God, they paid to get their own pick back.
Well, whatever. They got Zach Collins,
who is the worst money on the San Antonio Spurs roster.
Oh, wait. I thought Zach Collins was turning a corner. I was told that for a year.
Yeah.
Zach Collins. That was a bad move by the Blazers.
It's really why Charles Bassett's been playing a lot.
Well, and don't forget, Ronald Breesley's in that too.
Oh, look,
Kevin Huerter,
poor guy,
is going to the Bulls. And look, that red hair ain't gonna look good with the red jerseys.
No, it's gonna be tough.
That's a tough look.
So here's what the Bulls have traded away: Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Alex Caruso for the poo-poo platter of Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and there's one other player from the Spurs. God, I can't remember what it was. But it doesn't matter. Their own pick back, a second-round pick that they had to send back to the Kings, and then Josh Giddey.
Move.
That's what they turned that team into.
That's gross.
That's what they've gotten back. It is one of the biggest mismanagements of assets in the modern NBA.
Where, like, nobody wanted like Josh Giddey. Everybody's like, no.
You couldn't extract a
thanks.
single first-round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder for a player they wanted.
Okay.
It's unreal.
But we had that move come right after all of a sudden Luka gets moved and boom, we started greasing the skids here. And now we have a deadline. Thursday is the deadline. I think this is where a lot of Blazer fans should be excited, though, because that idea that there was going to be no movement, no, there's movement. It's happening. And can you get in on some of the action and some of the desperation? Because, look, when teams start seeing the other moves around the NBA, that's when they start getting a little antsy. And teams are posturing and getting in position to be effective and to be contenders. And is there anybody that's going to be that Portland can get involved with and start sweetening some deals? Because you're not going to get a whole heck of a lot for what's on the roster right now.
No,
but,
and the thing that you're hoping right now is the Lakers need a big. Do they come calling about DA or Robert Williams? The Sacramento Kings have checked in on Jeremy Grant in the past, and I know before that the Fox stuff went up, they almost had a deal done for John Collins that was basically the Herder, Lyles, and a first for John Collins to make that deal work. There was
didn't this kind of indicate, though, the Kings are selling, not buying?
I think that they're trying to stay relevant. That's why they took Levine.
Yikes.
Look, I'm not saying it's the right choice. I think that's the path that they're going down.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like it's certainly an interesting space right now. Again, I've been saying for a while now, I don't think the Blazers are gonna get much done because of where things are at now.
And that seems like a miss, though. That seems like a miss when it is turning into an active deadline.
It is, but it isn't. It's active. AD and Luka is not an active deadline. That's completely and wholly different. The only player that is moving here that makes sense is Levine. Like as far as like what you would want guard for guard, because what the Kings were asking for from the Spurs was a guard. Like,
no matter what, the Blazers would be having to take back
money.
It would be money,
100%.
and it would be a distressed asset is what they would be getting back.
If you're talking
we
about
know that.
Ayton?
No, if you're talking about dealing Ayton, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, like I think even Robert Williams, like you're getting because money.
Oh, you had to take back some form of money.
Yeah, and so it would be a distressed asset. We're under there should be no clouds of grandeur here that the Blazers would be getting some home run sweetheart of a deal. You want to get assets, and we talked about this last week.
Yeah, the price of what the asset would be.
A good young player, and do you want to throw a first in? Sure, heavily protected even, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that would make sense for Portland.
Yeah, no, like the thing for me is I don't think it's much a distressed asset as much as moving the deck chairs around with contracts, which is something this front organization has prioritized, is actually having contracts. Now, whether or not it's the
What
right
are they
idea,
doing with them, though?
having them so that you can use them in a potential trade when that comes up.
Like the deadline is Thursday.
Sure, but you've got to have somebody who wants to be a buyer.
And so you just sit on, and that, again, goes back to the Nico Harrison thing of the easy way is to do nothing.
No, the easy way is to sell out on your assets for pennies on the dollar, because that's exactly what the Mavericks did. Anybody, any bleepity bleep can trade Luka Doncic for nothing, because that's what he did.
Okay, and then you flip it and you go, all right, let's not look at it from the Nico Harrison aspect of it. Let's look at it from the Rob Pelinka aspect of this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at it from the aspect of the San Antonio Spurs, which said, that guy wants to come here? All right, let's start unpacking and let's move some stuff of consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And look,
you gotta have somebody who wants to come here.
Yeah, but also the Blazers have been telling us that we have these contracts, and this is not just a Joe Cronin thing. This was happening with Neil too, right? This is organizationally. They've told us they've got assets and contracts that people want. No, they don't, because if they wanted them, then would be moved. And what has ended up happening is that the pennies on the dollar thing, it does happen more often than not. And
Well-
that's where you go, okay, if working in front office and being a general manager or president of basketball operations or in a front office it's a relationship business.
Sure.
In those relationships, it screwed Nico Harrison, his relationship with Rob Pelinka. But if you're a Laker fan, you're like, yeah, that worked out pretty well for us.
Again.
Right? Again. But that's where you go, this is how these deals are done. And deadline after deadline, whether it is the in-season deadline or it is the off-season when guys are getting moved, we don't see anything. We see a lack of movement.
I'd push back on that pretty significantly.
Okay.
Damian Lillard was traded.
Yes, he was.
CJ
when he asked to be out.
CJ McCollum was traded.
And that was the first of let's unscrew this thing. And did they get back a whole heck of a lot?
No.
They didn't.
Denny Avdia, a guy that they targeted, they went and got.
That was a very good move.
Okay. You can disagree with what they place on value for a particular player, but they do have, like, I know this for a fact, that teams have called on players that they have.
Mm-hmm.
100% factual. There's no doubt about that. They have not met their requisite asking price. And I will tell you flat out, like Robert Williams III, they are not giving him away.
And how often do we hear about these deals that are made, though, where it's like, yeah, they came to us, it wasn't good enough. And this is like the Danny Ainge thing, right? He says, well, then I reached out to boom, 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 and we ended up fleecing the other team because I used my other connections, right? And like, look, this is easier said than done, right? But when we go through this time and time again here, like it gets frustrating.
No, I get it. I have yet to have the retrospective come back of Jimmy Butler was available, Paul George was available, like those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, and that they turned them away. Now, I know some offers that came in for Shaden Sharp, and the number 7 overall pick back at that draft. Yeah. I know offers that came in for the number 3 pick that was Scoot. And I think they chose the right path.
Yeah.
In selecting Shaden and selecting Scoot. Knowing what I know, like, now. But, again, there's no, like, there hasn't been an offer where I was like, oh, they were dumb to not take that. So, not knowing every single offer that's ever been made, but knowing the previous general manager and the offers that he did pass up in real time, I called that spade a spade immediately.
Yeah.
And look, if they get to this deadline, it comes to find out that there was a deal that made sense on the table and they said no because of some intrinsic thing about keeping this together, then I'll kill them for that.
And that's the thing, though, is that when we hear all of these and we hear of things that have been passed up, like, we only hear of the legwork that was done to seal a deal after it has actually happened. And when the deals don't happen, all we hear is, well, it just wasn't a good enough offer, right? And that's where I go to, man, would it be nice for Portland to be on the good end of one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes, it's not just a team saying, this is what we're going to offer you. It's, okay.
Unless you're the Lakers, then it does.
This is what we're going to offer you. And then you say, let's make this work. Let's make this better.
Mm-hmm.
How does this, go ahead. We'll help you, but you got to help us a little bit more. And that takes both sides of that conversation going out and finding the pieces that do make it work.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard. It is hard. And I'm not trying to say it's easy because it's not, but we never see it. And it's always, well, it just wasn't good enough.
I think the
and then
example of where
at that point you just get stuck in a cycle of being stuck.
Well,
and this is where the Blazers are.
Again,
they're stuck in the middle.
It wasn't good enough for 89 days, and then they got a better offer from the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
So
that still didn't make a ton of people happy about it. It
didn't matter if it made them
okay.
happy. You got a better deal.
Got a better deal. Well, than Miami.
Yes. Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, and maybe that's informed them and reinforced them to be more stubborn in their position. And you could argue that maybe they shouldn't be. But I think in so far in what they've done, both in acquiring Denny Avdia and trading Damian Lillard, because, and I think I've reported this before, they went after Denny at the trade deadline a year ago.
Yeah.
But it just didn't make sense for them because they didn't know where that pick was going to end up, how it was going to. Because remember, the Warriors were a complete disaster piece, and you were like, that pick might end up being really good. Like, that might be I think it was top 4 protected. You're like, that might end up being the 5th or the 6th pick in the draft. And even in a down draft, like, that's a little bit more ammo to deal with. And so they waited.
I'll tell you, the Nurk deal may be the one that has worked out best for the Blazers right now.
Yeah, they took
Toumani Camara.
Well, not only that, they
Let's
took
go.
on DeAndre Ayton, and you can say what you want about DA and his contract. Nurk's the fourth center on the team right now for the Suns and not even playing.
He has been benched.
So
he got a DNP
and again,
coming home.
This isn't me defending the front office. It's
not.
Like where this stuff is all at right now.
Well, and this is where the conversations happen of like, look, you're not defending the front office. We're having a conversation of it would sure as hell be nice for something to happen.
Look, I want them to make
and
moves.
putting context into it.
Yeah.
But there is an element of, as a fan base, you look over and you're like, man, it'd be nice to be them over there. It'd be nice to be them over there. And then you look around and you're like, damn, there's a lot of teams and it's never us.
Look, the Blazers made offers to get OG Anunoby when Dame was here.
And look at Toronto now.
Yeah. But guess what Toronto did? No, that offer's not good enough.
Yep.
And we want more. They got greedy, and then they had to sell OG for nothing. They did the same thing with Pascal Siakam, had to sell him for nothing. And I don't think the Blazers are being greedy with what they're asking for the players they're entertaining offers for. If you could say that they maybe want more than other teams think, but I think every player or every team thinks that about their own players.
Yeah, and look, Portland is in such a rough spot with that because of how egregiously Neil O'Shea overvalued the assets that he had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he overvalued them
to an unreasonable extent.
In that, look, that is something that the Blazer fan base, myself included, you have to break yourself out of because of the fact that it's like, yeah, you want deals to be done, but look, we're still kind of coming out of an abusive relationship with the last president of basketball operations. And this is going to be interesting next few days because I don't expect the Blazers to make any deals because that's just kind of the way that everything's been signaling. But if things start ramping up around the NBA, this is where you've got to really start hopping on in trying to grease the skids with some other deals and be on the periphery of them. Then that doesn't mean to send out veteran players, but see what assets you can acquire because that's what the Blazers kind of are in right now is they are in a rebuild. They are, despite winning 7 of 8, which we need to get to at some point.
Oh, well, this next, 3 days, it's going to be very interesting. In fact, as a quick reminder, Thursday afternoon, we will be coming on air as the trade deadline expires. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Despite it being Super Bowl week, we will come on Thursday and dive into the trade deadline very quickly. But coming up next, we have our worst day on the web. Be careful and don't throw away your 1,400 baggies of heroin in front of the cop. But first, it's the Big Kahuna, the Sports Center Update.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the NBA stealing the headlines this weekend. The Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. That in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. All that went down late Saturday night. Then yesterday on Sunday, a 3-team deal sending De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine, 2 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks to the Kings, and then Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a first-rounder to the Bulls. The Blazers, meanwhile, they've won 7 of their last 8 and host the Suns tonight. 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna. Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle still out. Robert Williams III, Jabari Walker are questionable. The Blazers are 5-point dogs. And over in the NFL, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Browns. Garrett has 2 years left on his record-breaking 5-year, $125 million deal signed in 2020, but there is no guaranteed money remaining. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just ask it to play 1080 The Fan.
What's up?
It's time for today's worst day on the web with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks.
Slight little pivot here on the worst day on the web because there's some mildly breaking news as it pertains to that gambling ring that caught up Jontay Porter and got him thrown in jail for a couple of years for fixing.
Is that done already?
Yeah, he's going to. I think it was.
No, they've already wrapped it all up.
Well, his part of it, I believe, his sentencing was.
Hot damn.
Was 2 years.
Good for
if I
him.
remember right. Yeah, he was cooked. There was no.
I bet it was worth. Nope.
No way around that.
Not worth it.
But that gambling ring is also the same one that is tied to the current federal probe into Terry Rozier, as well as it has now been uncovered through sources told to ESPN this morning that those same sportsbook accounts of that gambling ring have also bet against North Carolina A&T, Mississippi Valley State, and Eastern Michigan that have all raised flags.
Look, you should not. Look, I believe this. You shouldn't be able to bet on those type of games.
No,
that level of
major college basketball, like top 50 and above.
Get it? It's Division I.
There's a sliding scale between the top 50 and the top 300.
There's over 300 Division I basketball teams, and not all of them are funded like the Power Four. I think that once you, and this is where you go.
God, it's 352 now.
352. That's what we're at.
That's too many.
Yeah, it is.
Good Lord.
Only 68 of them go to the big dance.
Yeah, it'll be 80.
Yep, it's going up pretty quickly. But this, I don't think you should be able to bet on those. It's like, all right, let's throw some action on some D3 basketball, huh? Let's throw some action on Linfield and Lewis and Clark. You shouldn't be able to bet on that because those are the people that can be influenced, right?
Yeah, you can slide $10,000 some kid's way at North Carolina A&T and have some real influence.
Look, I'm here to tell you, when it comes to the broke college kid pocketbook, there ain't much of a difference between North Carolina A&T and Linfield or Lewis and Clark.
But there is between that and Duke.
But it's Division I. Yes, it's Division I basketball, so we have lines on it. We shouldn't.
No.
We shouldn't do that. No. I love Maction more than anything. You said Eastern Michigan is involved in this. But Maction shouldn't be able to bet on it. I've watched
especially
it
Maction basketball.
On a Tuesday and Wednesday night football. You probably shouldn't either. Having witnessed it.
Hey, look, it's a little spicier, but it's also harder to influence.
So
like
how many
basketball is like the easiest sport to influence.
No doubt about it.
But like,
No doubt
you
about
left
it.
one short.
Yep. Dang.
Darn.
Oh, turnover. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, so here's what we got. Betting integrity monitors have flagged 2 games involving Eastern Michigan, December 21st against Wright State and January 16th for Central Michigan. In both instances, sportsbooks noticed suspicious betting activity against Eastern Michigan in the first half, which, again, first half unders are something you can easily manipulate by brickety brick. It's not hard to do. You can control that flow pretty well. Veteran bookmakers and professional bettors have been tracking unusual betting activity on college basketball games dating to last season, gambling industry sources told ESPN. Also flagged by sportsbooks and offshore services to suspicious betting on the first half of a January 9th game involving North Carolina A&T and Delaware.
Is this suspicious betting being that people were betting?
Probably, because I would imagine there's not many bets that come in on these games.
Fair enough.
The point spread on the first half moved from Delaware -2 to -3.5. The point spread on the full game closed at -4.5.
Really locked into this first half.
Yeah. First half lines typically are equal to around 50% of the full game point spread.
Yikes.
So it doubled.
Wow.
Which the amount of money necessary to do that is pretty seismic.
Yeah. And there's 5, I'm reading in this article that there's 5 guys that are connected to the Jontay Porter. This seems like it's the more that they're going to peel this thing back, the further and further.
Oh, they're going to find so much. This is like when the NFL investigated Dan Snyder and they found Ron Gruden's emails.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, well.
Oh, boy.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if they find out, and again, this is not to say that Terry Rozier is guilty, but if he is guilty, Adam Silver's out of a job.
Well, did you see that they cleared Terry Rozier?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. The NBA has investigated and cleared Rozier.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, the NBA already cleared him. Did the federal probe clear him?
oh, I don't know.
But that's my.
But
that's
the
what-
NBA is saying that they've concluded their investigation of him. I mean that, right? If you, to your point, if the NBA investigated him, cleared him, said you're good, and the feds are like, "What are you guys talking about?"
It's like we've got him dead to rights.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, Adam Silver's gone.
Yeah,
because that's federal. And that's boop. If they were complicit in hiding or covering something up, or just through malfeasance, didn't uncover it, and the government did, you're cooked.
Would not be good.
Cooked at that point in time. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of people in front offices across sports, and they're all like, like one of their biggest fears is like one of their players being wrapped up in this. Not just this exact instance, but like there is a real push among front offices to just take these stupid apps off your phone. If you're gonna do it, have your buddy do it. Like, you cannot do this.
I feel like all of these guys who are in this gambling ring, they all have pretty fun names to say.
Oh, there are some great names in there.
Amar Aade, Long Fee Pham.
Long Fee Pham's a great name.
That's a great name. Timothy McCormick. That guy goes by Timmy McCormick. Like, Timmy McCormick seems like the guy in your neighborhood that was always getting into trouble. Muhammad Mala. That's a cool name. Just easy to say, fun to say. Shane Hennon. That one's kind of the last one. I can see why they put him at the end.
Because this is the least fun.
Yeah, Amar Aade and Long Fee Pham and Timmy McCormick. Those are solid. Those are solid troublemaker names.
No, 100%.
Timmy,
you put him in the lineup. You're like, yep, that
it's
tracks.
like Step Brothers. Yeah, Timmy McCormick. I smoked weed with him in high school. Johnny Hopkins smoked weed with him in high school.
Not a bad little spot to be. So there you go.
Oh, North Carolina A&T. Isn't that where J.R. Smith golfs?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, turns out they're hoops gambling ring. I'm connecting dots here. Huh? All right.
Bring a little something back to the team.
Yeah, and then also, by the way, we just got it on the text line. There is a Major League Baseball umpire too that has been fired for. Now this is rich. Pat Hoberg. He's been fired for sharing betting accounts with a friend. Only the friend bet.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah. No.
But
he didn't bet on baseball.
Also deleted a bunch of messages that were central to Major League Baseball's investigation. So,
just so you know, you guys, if you delete text messages and those kind of things, they're still on your phone.
Yeah, you're gonna still find them.
It's really not hard for them to pull it.
That's why, Tom Brady unfortunately broke his phone when the NFL was trying to get the Deflategate text. Like, that's just what he did. Because he didn't want people to see his and Gisele's private messaging. Come on.
Yeah, because that was the only thing that was on there.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. There was nothing John Gruden-esque in there at all.
Probably
nothing.
not.
Nothing would get him in trouble.
Nah. That's the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, sir. Okay?
Yeah, John
so
Gruden
you're
got fired from the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, well, I know. You and I are both on this cover up now because you don't want your team brought into this.
Like it's Like it's just
it's gonna bring the Raiders down.
Clearly, it's your first time. Been down this road before. Where do you want to go next? Because we're gonna pivot back to even more basketball. You want to talk a little Senior Bowl?
No, there's a big trade request in the NFL. We should talk about.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah,
I wanted to give that one a little more. I want to give that one a little more air, but let's do that here. There is a massive trade request in the NFL, and honestly, could you not right now? We're busy, Miles, Danny, and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Slam dunk.
It's time to enter the daily for the Slam Dunk in Vegas contest. Entering is easy. Just download the free Odyssey app, log in, listen 1080 The Fan or any participating station. Listen each day for a minimum of 1 hour for your daily entry. That's right. You're already listening. Why not just listen on the app and get an entry for yourself every day to win an insane prize that includes the winner of the national contest receiving travel and accommodations for 4. That's the winner and 3 guests to Las Vegas, plus $20,000 in spending money. That's $5,000 for each of you, or $19,995 for you and $4 split among the rest of everybody else. To fund the ultimate viewing experience for the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championship. Come back each day and listen for another hour to add another chance to win. Keep listening for more info or go to 1080thefan.com. As we mentioned before, despite the biggest trade maybe in modern sports history happening, the NFL said, whoa, it's our week. It's the Super Bowl. We have things, but then somebody else decided to pipe up. Myles Garrett is not happy in Cleveland. He has demanded a trade, and we will get to that next here in hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
JHD2 Portland, an Odyssey sports station. Now, Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on the Fan, the NBA making all of the headlines this weekend with the Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. That was late Saturday night. Then yesterday, a three-teamer sending De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine, 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks to the Kings, and then Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a first-round pick to the Bulls. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reporting disgruntled Heat forward Jimmy Butler has told the Warriors he would not be interested in signing an extension with Golden State. Butler has a $52 million option for next season, but it is believed he would rather become a free agent. The Blazers, meanwhile, they've won 7 of their last 8 and host the Suns tonight. 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna. That's Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle is still out. Robert Williams III, Jabari Walker are questionable. The Blazers are 5-point dogs. And reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, has requested a trade from the Browns. Garrett has 2 years left on his record-breaking 5-year, $125 million deal that he signed in 2020, but there remains no more guaranteed money. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan. Super Week is all about fattening foods.
Put the good meat out for Dusty.
Big screens.
Come to my garage and we'll film something, bud.
And good sportsmanship.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
How about you shut up?
This is Danny and Dusty on Super Week.
Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at warrenallen.com.
Danny and Dusty on 1080 The Fan.
Hour 3 here on a Monday. We're listening on 1080 AM. Watching along on youtube.com/1080am the fan or twitch.tv/1080am the fan. We appreciate you. We love you. We went through basically the first 2 hours of the show with almost exclusively NBA coverage on Super Bowl
That was
week.
crazy.
And we'll get back to it here in just a minute.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the Blazers except for like one segment.
And it was kind of sprinkled in there. We'll
It was
talk about
talking
that.
about trades.
Yes.
But they're actually playing good basketball too.
What? But there is a very big news, a very big news. A bit of breaking news, as it is a couple hours later here, though. All-world pass rusher for the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, has requested a trade.
He's like, I want in on this trade and stuff. Yeah, this is not surprising one bit. I mean, it really isn't because of he's been signaling this for quite some time. I mean, even before the new year, he was talking about like, hey, I want to win. And I can't go through another rebuild here. And that, to me, when you look at Myles Garrett, what about the Cleveland Browns right now says that they are close? And I know just last week, their general manager was talking at the Senior Bowl saying, we are not going to trade, was it Barry? He said, we're not going to trade. Andrew Barry said, we're not going to trade Myles Garrett. Full stop. Even if you guys want to say for the hypothetical 2 first-round picks, we're not trading him.
Yeah, they are.
They're going to have to now because what Myles Garrett has is he has 2 years left on his deal, non-guaranteed. It's a sweetheart of a deal for whoever gets it, right? And he's kind of sitting there saying to the Browns, like, dude, I dare you. Because I won't play under this deal right now. 2 non-guaranteed years. He is worth every penny of.
He's arguably the best defensive player in the league.
Breaking the bank.
It's him. It's T.J. Watt. You know.
Well, there have only been since 1982 when they started recording sacks. There's only been 5 players that have gotten to that mark before they're 30 years old. Reggie White, DeMarcus Ware, T.J. Watt, Jared Allen,
some of the
Myles Garrett.
So some of the best pass rushers in the history of the game.
He's been really damn good.
Yeah,
he's been really damn good.
DeMarcus Ware really is underrated and where he ranks in the all-time pantheon.
I would say so. Yeah,
he really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, especially in your first 8 years in the NFL, getting to and he is second. DeMarcus Ware had 111 sacks in his first 8 seasons. That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's crazy talk. But for Myles Garrett, I don't I applaud him for being a good soldier for as long as he has been in Cleveland. And the turnaround that he has seen in his time since being a Cleveland Brown has been pretty incredible. Now, if you're the Browns, though, you're not going to win with Deshaun Watson. And you guys gave him that stupid contract that you knew at the time it would be really hard for him to live up to. Well, he's never going to live up to it. You know that now. And so Myles Garrett is sitting there going, all right, what are we going to do to turn this into a win-now team? He's even saying, like, hey, we're not that far off, but you are a mile away.
Your offense is a mile away.
When you have Deshaun Watson dragging you down.
And they do have the opportunity to get out of his contract and have an arbitration based on his medicals to retire him. And
that's going to be tough.
Well, look, if I'm the Browns, I'm doing everything I can to get him to retire. Take your money and go.
Yeah, because you have to fight with the NFLPA on that, and that's going to be the tough one. It's like some NFLPA lawyers like, do I really have to go on this guy's behalf?
Yeah, but they could also get him, like, if they get a medical board, they can get him to unfit to play.
Yeah,
he would still get every penny.
You have had 2 Achilles ruptures in a calendar year,
and your shoulder is falling off.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and say no, dog.
Yeah, and that's again. But the hope is you get Deshaun Watson to step away voluntarily, getting every penny.
But I also think, though, with Myles Garrett, the hard part is nobody that you're going to bring in is going to bring you over the top to win a Super Bowl while you are still
very unlikely.
Player.
And no, don't get me wrong. If all of a sudden they have a metric crap ton of cap space, which they would, because the big money kicked in with Deshaun Watson now. Obviously, the first year was just $1 million. Now was it 42 to 60 or something like that? It's a massive number. But if all of a sudden, if they had that space, they could do something pretty drastic.
But you can't go get a quarterback. I mean, because if you could do that, Steelers would do it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But I mean, like the things that they could do. You know, you can load up basically everywhere else.
Well, they did about as good as they could with getting Jameis Winston this past year. Mm-hmm. And like that's where you're at. Because like we talk about this all the time with the teams that don't have quarterbacks. You go to the scrap heap. And in Cleveland, Sam Darnold isn't good enough.
I was saying,
Daniel Jones isn't good enough.
If you did get Sam
Russell
Darnold,
Wilson,
but you also went and got a wide receiver, another wide receiver, which you could financially.
Mm-mm.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
You don't think if you had that offensive line with Chubb and Njoku and a number 1 wide receiver in Judy?
No. Unfortunately, I believe that going against the Steelers and Ravens twice a year
does
probably
that,
not going to be in the best interest of Sam Darnold. I like Sam Darnold.
You don't want to send him to the wood chipper?
No, but I think we forget how special like the confluence of events were that made this year so good for
Minnesota,
Sam Darnold.
for sure.
And when it fell apart,
boy, did
it was
fall apart.
Spectacular.
Yeah, it was epic.
It was.
Go out with a bang. Go out with a bang.
But dude, it went sideways on him.
Where do you think Myles Garrett ultimately just gets a 4-year contract fully guaranteed, or do you think he gets moved?
I think he gets moved. I think he gets moved.
Where is he going? Because I have one. I have one, no doubt.
I don't think they're going to send him to the AFC, so that puts him in the NFC.
Mm-hmm. And not that far away.
Oh, you think he goes to Detroit?
Green Bay.
Oh. Mm-hmm. They love their picks, though.
Just saying.
I could see him going to Washington.
Ooh, that'd be.
I could see him.
Have him end up being what they thought. What's his name from Ohio State was going to be?
I feel like that could be. Are you talking about Young?
Yeah,
Chase
Young. Yeah.
That could be very scary
because they have room.
They have salary cap space. Mm-hmm. They have a draft pick that they'd be like. I mean, we'd be willing to part with draft picks because we feel like we're going to be at the bottom of the first round for the next few years.
They are this year.
Yeah. So you sit there and you go, yeah, we'll give you 2 firsts, Cleveland. Go ahead. I don't think that we would see 2 firsts, but like we'll give you a first and a player, and you can have that 29th overall selection, and we'll be sitting here with Myles Garrett. I'd be a good trade.
And you could go get, your quarterback there. You can go get Jackson Dart at the end of the first round.
Yeah, or what you do is you say, we'll give you a first-round pick in 2026. If you guys don't love who the quarterbacks are in this draft, then we'll give you a 2026 because we're going to be even better with Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then next year, you guys can use whatever capital you have. And if you want to move up for a quarterback next year, you can go ahead and do that. You could have one or the other. I mean,
the other one is if Detroit just goes full all in and says, F them picks. I saw, Colton Pouncey, I think he's the writer for the Athletic in Detroit. He had a mock trade that was on Good Morning Football that was Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 firsts and a third for Myles Garrett. And he goes, they need to put down the drugs because they're not getting Jahmyr Gibbs and 2 firsts. The person who wrote that was the Browns general manager. Like, that's like, you wouldn't even get Jahmyr Gibbs.
Well, I mean, the text message is saying Jerry Jones might be willing to give up all the firsts for Myles Garrett.
Lean into defense.
We have Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett.
And not pay Micah.
You don't have anybody else. We're just going to let them rush that quarterback. I don't know. I think he gets his way. I don't think he goes. I don't think he goes to Dallas. I think he'll go to a contender. I think that
I like one of the up and coming teams, either Green Bay or Washington. I think either of those are good landing spots.
I think they'd be great for him. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, be a fun little spot.
Yeah,
I like that.
Green Bay is intriguing.
Him and Rashawn Gary.
I wonder if that's a place that has enough for him, though. You know?
Yeah.
Does he believe in Jordan Love?
I think you're going to.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to say you want to go to someplace institutionally. That makes sense. And the Packers certainly are that. But the Lions and Commanders aren't.
No.
But they are right now.
You could win now.
And I think that's kind of the juxtaposition of like which you prefer. The stability of an organization like the Packers, who has been historically great for 40 years.
Or he's going to go to the Chiefs.
They have nothing.
Bad picks.
Watch them win the Super Bowl and then trade Chris Jones. We'll get younger, better version of him.
No.
God, don't put. Oh God, it made me sick.
He's not. Well, and Myles Garrett more on the outside, so they could do it.
God, the knot in my stomach has just appeared. Gross. All right, coming up next, we haven't talked about the other trade in the NBA yet.
What?
De'Aaron Fox was traded to the San Antonio Spurs, and what can we learn about that transaction that we could tie back to the Blazers? Then we'll talk about the Blazers playing the best basketball they've played in 4 years. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. There's actually another transaction in the NBA today this weekend that transpired that I guess is kind of going under the radar because it was the biggest freaking trade in sports history as Luka Doncic was moved under the cover of darkness.
Seems significant.
We talked about this on Friday, the idea of De'Aaron Fox going to the San Antonio Spurs. It was one of the worst kept secrets in the league. It was one of those things that had just been kind of living out there like, yeah, no kidding. That's we've kind of heard about that since the summer. And while those kind of things pop up all the time of where players are trying to steal themselves to, whether it's Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks or KD and Kyrie to the Knicks and ultimately the Nets, like these things are put in place and you see the machinations that help them get there. The Fox one is really interesting because it very much sounded like the Kings were going to try to take this to the summer. And you can argue about leverage or this, that, and the other. Fox basically putting it out there that he wanted to go to the Spurs, but was open to other destinations. If I were the Kings, I would have waited a little bit to see if you could generate some better offers with another year on his contract still.
Isn't that supposed to be against the new CBA is directing where you want to go?
Well, I don't know if
publicly?
you noticed this, but in all of the releases, it's only stated that De'Aaron Fox has a place in mind. He was neither requesting...
Yeah, but then literally everybody said, San Antonio.
We all knew this. We all knew the score. We all knew the score of what.
But but everybody knowing the score is what they're trying to stop.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, it's too clicky. It's too high schooly.
Yeah.
For that stuff to not get out.
Ugh.
Especially agents and players love to talk. Like, following the news of Luka being traded, the stuff that was said in locker rooms that can't be said publicly was astounding.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, oh boy, this is interesting. And we'll after I get done with this, there's actually some more news as it pertains to stars possibly being traded, Kevin Durant, that is floating things around in the world right now. And it just shows you how unstable that Luka trade made things. And I think that's the thing that made the De'Aaron Fox trade happen.
And that's what I was saying earlier is that it started to get the ball rolling with the Luka trade. It's what the NBA needed too, is that message that
I think it's fear.
Anybody can be traded, and the NBA needs that.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to say that you're dangling guys like comfort in Luka Doncic buying a $15 million home and setting down his roots in Texas, and they're like, nope, pack your bags, you're leaving. Like that is not on the up and up. But what the NBA had run into over the last 20 plus years is that the players grabbed so much power,
player empowerment, that
the league had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is almost the league fighting back and saying, no, we do have control.
It does feel like a bit of a reset. And for those that are unaware, the De'Aaron Fox trade sends De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs. It is a 3-way deal. The Kings send out Fox, Kevin Huerter, and
excuse me,
Red Velvet.
Ronald Threesley.
Ronald Threesley also as well.
Yep.
Ronald Threesley, great name from a very well-known Blazer fan at ESPN. Just pulled that one out of a hat, and shout out to you. But the Kings will receive Levine, a second-round pick from the French League last year, Sidi Sissoko, and 3 first-round picks. And again, 3 in air quotes, because Charlotte's 2025 pick is lottery protected. It will change into 2 second-round picks. So that's down to 2 first-round picks. The other first-round pick, or one of the other first-round picks in this, is San Antonio's 2027 pick, which will be at the back end of the first round because the Spurs are not getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing of value in this is they got the unprotected Minnesota Timberwolves 2031 pick, and then 3 second-round picks. Chicago's in 2025, Denver's in 2028, and the return of their own 2028 pick from Chicago that they used in order to facilitate the DeMar DeRozan deal earlier this season. The Bulls in all of this regained their 2025 first-round pick from the San Antonio Spurs, which hilariously was also top 10 protected. They were very likely going to get it. Duh. So the Bulls here so far gave up Zach LaVine, got their own pick back, and then took on Zach Collins' bad money, backup guard Trey Jones, and then Kevin Huerter's money, while also waiving Torrey Craig and Quis Duarte in order to clear roster spots. So basically the Kings and the Bulls made transactions to make up for their past mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is always a great bargaining position to be in. And the Spurs gave away nothing of value other than a 2031 first-round pick from the Minnesota Timberwolves for De'Aaron Fox. Congratulations.
Yes, but it's going to be they were backed into a corner though. When the player demands the trade, and this is where it comes down to, right? If you're backed into a corner, would you expect them to hold on to him for longer and just to see what they could get?
Because I think you try to leverage Houston. De'Aaron Fox is from Houston. They have assets. They are interested in, or were interested in, De'Aaron Fox.
But this goes back to also the playing nice with the player. And in this, what you're outlining is basically what the Blazers did with Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
Dame wanted to go to Miami.
They did not have the requisite assets to get said deal done.
And so it came down to, all right, if we're not going to send him to Miami, let's send him to a place where he can win and he can be successful.
And it's home.
And they found Milwaukee. Well,
no, I'm saying for Fox.
But for Fox, it would be also at home, right? Now, De'Aaron Fox is no Damian Lillard.
No.
But he is a very good player. What would be the ceiling for a Sacramento trade then?
I think if you send him to Houston, you're hoping to peel off. I don't think you could get Amen, but you could get probably like Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith Jr. and some picks.
Okay.
But now you're talking about a rebuild, and from what I understand from folks in Sacramento is that the Kings don't want to rebuild because they have made the playoffs once in 20 years.
Right.
Well, 7 or 18 to be exact. But they had that one taste, and they don't want to go back to the cellar, even if that means they're a play-in team. They have been so bad and so misguided and so unfortunate to a lot of it to their own detriment and their own doing. Marvin Bagley, hello, Luka Doncic. Weird. Does somehow Vlade Divac, vindicated in all of this?
Yeah, he is. Vlade, we likes to potty. Yeah, I think he is.
And if you remember, if you go back 8 years, the Sacramento Kings were the ones who gave an RFA offer to Zach LaVine.
Right.
So Vivek, you finally got your man.
You got him.
You got Zach LaVine 8 years later, which is insane to think about. But it's an interesting place for the league to be in because we just got done talking about the league kind of grasping hold of things again. The De'Aaron Fox trade reads the complete opposite. Or the Kings were just in a hurry to get out of the De'Aaron Fox business. And this is where I start kind of looking at things. How many owners right now are sitting down, and I'm not saying they're colluding, but they're colluding, sitting down and agreeing not to pay players? Now, they make them somebody else's issue, or let's say do the Lakers get to this and it's all said and done, and as great as Luka is, do they play hardball with a contract? Or
well, I think they both try to go for that Donovan Mitchell deal that we talked about earlier, where you go shorter and then give him a longer extension.
But if you're also the Spurs, do you look at, if you're the Kings and you look at De'Aaron Fox and you're like, do we want to be tied to him and be mediocre? Like, I'd argue if you're the Kings, you should, because you haven't even been mediocre for essentially 20 years. Mediocre is an improvement.
Hey, they were in the playoffs.
They were, and they were number 3 seed. You're right. No, again, and that's the single mark of success over 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think there's a sliding scale for like where they need to be and where they need to go. But if you're setting your sights higher, and you don't want to be in the De'Aaron Fox business, and he says he doesn't want to be a part of it, do you just cut ties and move on because you don't want to commit that money?
I think that's where the NBA is at now.
I think so too. Like the Zach LaVines of the world, teams don't want to be tied to those guys with $50+ million.
And I think the jumping off point was Luka Doncic, where the Mavericks were just like,
we went out of the Luka business.
The talent is undeniable. We know the talent is there. Everything else we don't want to put up with. And that is whether it is the blow-ups at critical times and critical moments of games with that game, I'm thinking game 3 of the NBA Finals, where he just melts down and boom, it's over, right? When you think of the coming into camp out of shape, the rumors and reports that are out there now of the real reason why Michael Finley grabbed his beer in the post-game celebration wasn't because the cameras were there, but it was because, dude, come on.
It was the cameras there, and come on.
We know that you got a little sauce problem, bud. all of these things that are coming out in 270-pound Luka Doncic, where they're like, we need to control this. A distressed asset with that calf, and basically their team doctor's going, it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. Are all of these things just saying now teams are going to be like, we're not going to sit and gamble and bet because we can sell a bunch of jerseys. We're going to get rid of these assets now and get out of that business before we have to pay him $345 million in a super max deal.
That's what they shorted the market. And this is something you and I have talked about for the last couple of weeks. The idea of players in professional sports making too much money in the sense of getting it way too soon. Because if let's just say that you give Luka that extension this summer or the new contract, $345 million guaranteed American dollars at 26 years old. Sure, the talent demands it, but after you've given him that money and it's 100% guaranteed, he can tell you to go to hell.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, they should have gotten a lot more for everything that we're talking about with Luka Doncic. I just feel like we should always say that, like, oh my gosh, how could you have not gotten more?
It is the fleece of the century.
Oh my
His
God.
Achilles could go tomorrow. He could be out for 18 months and come back, and he'd still be better than 99% of the NBA.
Yeah. I always say the players aren't getting paid too much. Somebody is willing to pay them too much. And
Yes.
I think that is
Yes.
the big difference here in that conversation that we're having, is that now you're seeing the franchises and maybe league-wide saying, we can't do this and build a winner that makes sense because it's taking up 35% of our salary cap.
And even just percent
for
of the
one
cap.
guy.
And
For
I'm-
one guy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the billionaire owners should get all the money.
No.
In fact, there should probably be less money in sports. That's part of the problem, is because it's still just a percentage. Like it was 35% 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But because there's so much money there now, what are you going to tell a guy who you just gave $500 million to? Like that's going to be like Victor Wembanyama, when he's up for his 9-year extension, is going to get a $500 million fully guaranteed. He is going to make $100 million a year over 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to tell him?
Yeah.
You can't tell him bleep.
Right. And I think that is where the Mavericks made that message. I think that's why the Kings made that deal right now instead of waiting until the offseason, especially. I don't know if they could have gotten anything more, but is this going to be the new reality of maybe teams are giving up or getting back less than a lot of the public thinks they should, because we have to rewire ourselves to what these trades mean and how much value you're going to be getting back. Because if we were to look back at it in a few years, we looked at the Dame trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Dame trade was so complex and there were so many parts to it, because it wasn't just, two teams going 1-for-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the Blazers, the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 4-team deal to make that happen. And what the Blazers ended up getting was DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, Toumani Camara via the draft, and then they got 3 first-round picks and then 2 pick swaps out of it. I think that may be like a thing of the past, unless you can get 4 teams to agree on it. And like getting 4 teams to agree on a deal that big was insane.
Yeah.
But to have, and at the time we were like, damn, the Blazers are getting rid of Dame, Nurk, and then Nasir Little and Keon Johnson. Was
Keon went earlier.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was part of the deal to go to Phoenix with Nurk. No? Oh. Never mind. So it was Dame, Nasir, and Nurk, and we're like, those are 2 pretty big pieces to Blazers being very successful in Dame and Nurk. Well, they got a distressed asset in return in DeAndre Ayton, which that was Phoenix saying, we're not going to be tied to this anymore. Like, they kind of did the same thing there. But
I tell you right now, they'd kill to have DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, they would.
They'd kill to have him.
But the Blazers got 3 first-round picks, and not all of them were good either.
No, 2 of them are good. 2 of them are good. And they traded one mildly good one that slots in between for 2029.
The Denny Advia trade, too, that is a second of 2 first-round picks, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was like all right, we're going to send that to Washington for a guy who we know can play instead of gambling with the 14th overall pick. We're going to be okay with that.
And a pick that they didn't really like anybody there that much. Not as much as they like Denny Avdia.
What did they end up? What was the return for Brogdon again in the Brogdon deal? When the Blazers got rid of Malcolm Brogdon?
Oh, they sent It was Brogdon 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Denny Avdia. And the first was the 2014 pick, or the 14th pick of the draft last year, who was Bub Carrington, and then the second most valuable of the picks in 2028 between Portland, Boston, Milwaukee, which it's probably going to be a pick in the 20s,
in the mid 20s.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
No, Is it a pick? Is it a first round pick? Yeah. Is it a highly coveted first round pick? No.
Nope, not bad at all.
And the 14th pick in the draft last year was not highly sought after. The thing that the Wizards valued in that draft was that pick, that down the road.
And that's where it's just like Ayton or Time Lord at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to, between now and Thursday, move either one of those pieces, I think we need to continue to frame it as that's still part of the Dame trade.
No, I think it is to an extent, and you have to kind of wonder how far you go with that before it goes too far, because one thing can turn into another, can turn into another. I think basically 2 years is safe. I think that's after 2 years, that's kind of been the cycle of the assets being used to their maximum, but through proxy or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens if either of those guys are moved. Like I know teams are interested in bigs right now. It's just a matter of which ones they go after, and there have been multiple teams that have called on Rob Williams. I know that for a fact. So whether or not it's like anything that matters, like they're not giving him away from second round picks. Like, people can get that out of their head. It's not happening. So
no,
it's just not happening. But beyond that, that's kind of where things sit right now, which is now a perfect time to transition to the Portland Trailblazers, winning 7 of 8. And being, I'm not kidding, the hottest team in the NBA over the last 8 games.
Guys, gals, they're playing good basketball.
They are, and they're actually, the numbers even say so. We'll get to that and more coming up here next. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Check out Super Butcher Shop specials for the big game, like bacon-wrapped jalapenos, smoked ribs, and more at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, the NBA stealing all the headlines this weekend. The Mavericks sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers, along with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris, in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick. That was late Saturday night. Then on Sunday, a 3-team deal, sending De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine, 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks to the Kings, and Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a first-round pick to the Bulls. Blazers, they've won 7 of their last 8 and host the Suns tonight. 7 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna. Xfinity Channel 302. Matisse Thybulle is still out. Robert Williams III, Jabari Walker are questionable. The Blazers are 5-point underdogs. And in the NFL, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett has requested a trade away from the Browns. Garrett, 2 years left on his record-breaking 5-year, $125 million deal signed in 2020, but there is no guaranteed money remaining. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
Hey, it's Rob.
The Portland Trailblazers are the hottest team in the NBA.
That can't be true.
It's 100% true. Over the last 8 games, they have the best net rating in the league.
Oh.
Let that sit. Let me go ahead and say that again. Over the last 8 games, they have the best net rating in the league. It is absolutely bonkers. I should say not net rating, the best plus minus in the league.
Okay.
What they have done is they're winning games by an average of 12 points.
My gosh. And when you look at it, though, here's the other thing that's crazy about it. 6 of those wins have come against playoff teams.
Mm-hmm. Their only loss has come in a relatively close game to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Miami, Orlando, twice, Phoenix, and Milwaukee. They just have Orlando's number, and Paolo Banchero never wants to see Toumani Camara ever again. But they have been playing at a really high level on both sides of the floor. And to think about, you mentioned plus minus over the last 8 games. If you look at where they were at they had the second worst plus minus in the entire NBA. Only second to the Wizards.
I should say they had the second best because when I looked at this last night, the Cavs game had not gone final.
Oh, yeah.
And they won by 40.
Well, we could take that away.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to when this started, you would look at like point differential, and the Blazers were like at minus 8.
It was nasty.
4 or 7
yes.
or whatever. Now on the season, it's negative 5.8, that's a dramatic shift for the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it any different than where they are in the Western Conference standings? No, they're still the 3rd worst team in the Western Conference.
And the thing is, they're going to stay there. They really can't go up and they really can't go down.
So what you're telling me,
they're going to end up probably with the 7th best lottery odds. Now the Bulls are going to try to shut things down, and it's a matter of like how much the Blazers do or don't get done at the trade deadline, and then who they shut down or don't shut down after the All-Star break. I think this is where they're going to end up now.
They got
I think
one
that
against the Bulls.
I think that 5th spot is probably gone.
Yeah, that's a bummer. So they need to make up 4 games on the Nets and the Raptors, and we went over this when we were talking about the Blazers' ability to turn the faucet off. They have got remaining 1 game against the Brooklyn Nets and 2 games against the Toronto Raptors. They need to make up 4 games each on those to catch those 2 teams. It's going to be really tough to do, especially if they're playing at this level right now. But I think when you go back to how well this team has played, they've been doing it not just with sitting there and saying, hey, all right, Ant, take over, carry us. It has been with young players' growth. Scoot Henderson, his last 10 games have been outstanding. Shaedon Sharpe has played really well and bought into that role off the bench. Denny Avdia, whether it is him scoring 30 or 28, take those out. He's been playing his best basketball as well. Toumani Camara continues to be Mr. Steady as he goes. And look, DeAndre Ayton has been playing like the guy who was drafted number 1 overall.
Some of the best basketball of his career.
But this is the problem with DeAndre Ayton is that as quickly as it comes to this peak, he can hit that valley very quickly as well.
And the interesting thing is, like, you take a look at the Phoenix game the other night. Toumani Camara leads them in minutes. He has one of his best games as a pro. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 4 steals. He was an absolute terrorist. Like, don't even just count the steals. Like,
he was a terrorist?
Oh, yeah. No, he was a terrorist on the basketball court. Absolute terrorist. I mean, just the amount of just dysfunction and dismay that he causes. Like, teams are actively going away from him.
They should.
Like, whoever he is on, they're like, we're not going to, that's not what we're targeting right now. There was a period in the game where the Suns are like, okay, we're gonna find Scoot and Shaedon. That's who we're gonna target, because they were staying away from the drives because DA was actually turning off the water at the rim, which has been insane for him for the last 10 days. 2 has been a nightmare. Jeremy Grant has played unreal defense since he came back from his jaw injury.
Yeah,
he missed the game with the ankle, but he blocked a Kevin Durant fadeaway.
That's hard to do.
The list of people who've done that in the NBA ever is probably maybe 5. Like, that's such an insane thing to have happen. And it's like he has been taking on, him and 2 have been taking on assignments up and down the lineup, regardless of who it is. And they have done it masterfully. Like, and so much is emanating from their front court, from 2, Jeremy and DA. And it is allowing everyone else to be so disruptive, so destructive. Like, Scoot is gambling and passing lanes. Shaedon gets the steal and breaks out and gets the windmill dunk. Like,
That was dope.
Oh God! And I was so glad he looked back over his shoulder and nobody came because they were like, we haven't had one of these in a while. One of the social media folks, she's sitting next to me and she goes, I've never seen one of those in person. She's like,
oh really?
Because like
that's a moment.
Well, you don't get many like those opportunities, and when they do, not the entire social media team doesn't always travel, or those opportunities. Like she's newer here, so she didn't see it last year, and she was like, that was really cool to see. I go, yeah, watching a guy jump 40 inches plus in the air and throw down a windmill mid dunk or mid game is super dope.
This team is not tanking, and I think people need to get that. We talked about this last week. They're not tanking because they're not playing like a team that's tanking, and you're not seeing minutes like a team that is organizationally tanking right now. They are
post All-Star break. I think you could see the vets that are here get shut down. And here's the thing: your young guys will continue to play. Everybody's like, "They Scoot and Shade need to play." They're playing enough right now. You're getting development. Things are working. Chauncey's pushing the right buttons.
They played 25 and 24 minutes apiece.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's entirely fine. Especially when it's that productive. And the thing that I will say again. If they shut down the veterans and these guys are playing more minutes, they will lose some games. They might win some surprising games, but they will lose a lot of games because of the inconsistency of young guys.
I think where they're at is they're saying we're not going to be able to catch the Washingtons. The bottom three, you're not going to catch those teams regardless, right? Which are the teams with the best odds. So they're looking at it saying, let's just ride the hot hand while we have it right now. And when it does come back down to earth, then that's, I think, when you see them maybe turn it off. And that's, look, development was number one this year. We've talked about this. They want to develop young guys. If you are watching the Portland Trailblazers, hell, you don't even have to watch it. If you can just follow along, you will notice that
the difference in those guys.
They are playing so much better. Whether it is Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Toumani Camara,
Denny Avdia.
Those guys are playing so much better, and they don't want to stunt that right now. You can see that. Does it help them land a Cooper Flag? No. But I'm hoping that everything that we're seeing with the NBA right now, with Luka Doncic getting traded, De'Aaron Fox is getting traded, hey, I just hope they're WWEing this thing, and they're going to reward the Portland Trailblazers for trying.
There you go. Coming up next.
That's what I hope.
All right. Because
that's all I have is hope.
You're not wrong. We'll close up today's show. We'll take a look at the Portland Trailblazers and the Phoenix Suns. Round two. The Trailblazers are dogs again. Danny Dusty, the Fan. Blazers have been covering machines lately. They've covered, I want to say, 9 of their last 10 or 11 of
Not
their
gonna
last
bet.
12.
This is when they. When they turn.
Continue. Do not bet
Yep.
young teams.
Yep.
My PSA. Do not bet young teams because you never know when it's going to go sideways.
Yeah.
But they are 4.5-point dogs to the Phoenix Suns tonight. Just throwing that out there.
How many?
4.5-point dogs at home to a team they just beat the ever-living crap out of.
Yeah.
And there's noise around Kevin Durant being traded. So
I'm not. I don't like it. I don't like. Yeah. Wait. By the way,
throwing that
Kevin
out there.
Durant noise of him getting traded. Go back to the Warriors.
Back to the Warriors.
I saw that today, like right before our show started. It was like Kevin Durant to the Dubs. They're pushing all in. They want to. They want to give.
Teams saw
Steph.
Luka get moved and they said, "Screw it, make the phone call."
Well, and they've been very aggressive. They want to give Steph one last shot at winning.
I think they also want to forecast that they want that, and they kind of also want Steph to request a trade because they want to be out of the old guy business. A lot like the other teams.
Light years ahead of what
Light
everybody
years,
else is
baby.
thinking.
Smarter than everybody in the room. Get rid of the guy you currently have for the mystery box.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Duh.
It could be a boat.
It could. Clay Thompson back
Could
with his captain hat.
Could be a boat.
Could be a boat. Well, this day was busy.
We didn't touch really anything that we had on the dock other than 3 things.
Yeah.
So
it's okay.
It'll be a
though.
busy day tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got the Super Bowl, but we'll talk Super Bowl tomorrow.
Maybe.
Yeah. We will talk Blazers tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because they play the Suns
And
tonight.
it's a back-to-back, too.
It is a back-to-back, and so we got Blazers on Wednesday, too. All right, up next, you got 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. It's prime time with Isaac and Souk. Have a great Monday, everybody. See you Tuesday from noon to 3 right here on The Fan.
Bye.
When it comes to protecting my family's future, I want a life insurance